I'm working so hard to be a good daughter, Mom, but I don't know why the world just kept kicking me down.
I'm so sorry. I saw how you were treated. I saw everything, and I know you don't deserve that. Get up and leave my restaurant immediately. Who are you to tell me that? Security, escort this man out of this restaurant now. Who?
Hello friends, before we begin, kindly like this video and tell us where you're watching from. Maybe South Africa, the US, Australia, Japan, or anywhere else in the world. And don't forget to subscribe. The Obsidian Lounge was the kind of place where the air smelled like expensive perfume and truffle oil. For the wealthy patrons laughing over crystal glasses of champagne, it was paradise. But for Lillian, it was a battlefield. At 24, Lillian was beautiful, though you wouldn't know it looking at her right now. She was on her knees near the entrance, scrubbing a scuff mark on the marble floor. Her uniform was a shapeless, dull gray, and her hair was pulled back in a messy bun. She was invisible. That was the rule of her job. Be clean, be quick, and above all, be unseen. She scrubbed harder, her back aching. She was doing this for her mother. Every cent she earned went to dialysis treatments. She had swallowed her pride a long time ago. Suddenly, the heavy oak doors swung open. A loud, booming laugh echoed through the quiet room. Lillian froze. She knew that laugh. It was the sound of her past coming to haunt her. Marcus walked in, looking like he owned the world. He was wearing a flashy designer suit that cost more than Lillian made in a year, and on his arm was Tiffany, a woman who looked like she spent her life in front of a mirror. Lillian's heart hammered against her ribs. Marcus was her ex, the man who had abandoned her 2 years ago when her mother got sick. He had called her dead weight before walking out the door. She lowered her head, praying he would walk past. "Best table in the house," Marcus announced loudly to the host. "We're celebrating." He didn't see her at first. Lillian quickly gathered her bucket and rags, trying to retreat to the kitchen shadows. But in her haste, her elbow bumped the edge of his table just as he sat down. A silver fork clattered to the floor with a sharp ring. The restaurant went silent. Marcus looked down, annoyed. "Hey, watch it, you clums!" He stopped. His eyes narrowed as he looked at the woman in the gray uniform. He squinted, a cruel smile slowly spreading across his face. "Lillian?" he said, his voice dripping with mock surprise. Lillian squeezed her eyes shut. She slowly stood up, clutching her rag like a shield. "I'm sorry, sir. I'll get a fresh fork." She turned to leave, but Marcus wasn't going to let her go that easily. "Babe, look at this," he said to Tiffany, loud enough for the neighboring tables to hear. "This is the girl I was with before I upgraded to you. Looks like I dodged a bullet, huh?" Tiffany popped her gum, looking Lillian up and down with disgust. "Gross. Who is she?" "It's just a nobody," Marcus laughed. "I always told you, Lillian, you have zero ambition. Look at you, on your knees, right where you belong." Lillian felt the blood drain from her face. Her lips trembled. "Please, Marcus," she whispered. "Just let me do my job." "Job?" he scoffed. "You call this a job? You're barely existing." From the shadows of a private balcony on the second floor, a pair of dark, intense eyes were watching. It was Dante, the owner of the Obsidian. He was a man of few words, a self-made billionaire who built his empire from nothing. He gripped his water glass tightly as he watched the scene unfold below. He saw the tremble in Lillian's hands. He saw the cruelty in Marcus's smile. Below, Lillian tried to walk away again, but Marcus wanted a show. He reached for his glass of red wine. "Wait," he called out. "You missed a spot." "Right here!" Before Lillian could react, Marcus tilted his glass. The dark red liquid splashed over her. It soaked her chest, ran down her gray apron, and splashed onto her face. It looked like a wound. The entire restaurant gasped. Lillian stood there, frozen. The cold, sticky wine dripped from her chin. "Oops," Tiffany giggled. "Clumsy." There, Marcus smirked, leaning back in his chair. Now you match the floor. Trash. Lillian didn't scream. She didn't fight back. She just looked at him with a profound, shattering sadness. I hope you feel big now, Marcus, she whispered. She turned and ran. She ran past the staring guests, past the judging eyes, and burst through the kitchen doors into the cold alleyway outside. She collapsed against the brick wall, sliding down until she hit the dirty ground. She buried her face in her wine-soaked hands and sobbed. She cried for the uniform she would have to pay for. She cried for the dignity she had lost. She cried because she was working so hard to be a good daughter, and the world just kept kicking her down. Then the back door opened. Lillian flinched, expecting the manager to come out and fire her. But it wasn't the manager. It was Dante. He had left his private balcony and come down himself. He wasn't wearing a suit jacket now, just a crisp white shirt with the sleeves rolled up. In his hand, he held a thick, white towel and a bottle of cold water. He didn't say a word at first. He just crouched down beside her on the dirty alley floor, ruining his expensive shoes without a second thought. Breathe, he said gently. His voice was deep and calm, like a safe harbor in a storm. Lillian looked up, startled. She tried to wipe the wine from her eyes, ashamed. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be here. I'll leave. Please don't tell the owner. I'm not going to tell anyone anything, Dante said softly. He handed her the towel. Here, that wine. It burns if it gets in your eyes. He opened the water bottle and poured a little onto the towel. Then, with a hesitation that showed pure respect, he reached out. He waited for her to nod, and when she did, he gently wiped a spot of wine from her forehead. Why are you helping me? Lillian asked, her voice cracking. Look at me. I'm a mess. Dante looked her in the eyes. I see a woman who stood tall while a small man tried to make himself feel big. Lillian paused. No one had spoken to her with that kind of respect in years. My car is around the corner, Dante said, standing up and offering her a hand. My driver will take you home. You're done for the night, paid in full. I can't take your car, Lillian stammered. I'm just the cleaner. Who are you? Are you a manager? Dante gave a small, sad smile. Something like that. My name is Dante. Go home, Lillian. Rest. Too exhausted to argue, Lillian let him guide her to the car. As she drove away, she looked back to see Dante walking back into the restaurant with a stormy look on his face. Inside, Marcus was still laughing, wiping wine off his hand with a napkin. Hey, waiter! He shouted. We need a mop over here. The trash left a mess. Dante walked straight to the table. The air in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. He stood over Marcus, his shadow casting a long line over the table. Get out, Dante said quietly. Marcus looked up, confused. Excuse me? Do you know who I am? I'm spending $5,000 here tonight. You're spending nothing, Dante said, his voice like steel. And you're leaving, now. Who do you think you are? Call the owner. Marcus sneered. I am the owner, Dante replied. Marcus's face went pale. He looked around and saw security guards already stepping forward. And you are banned, Dante continued, loud enough for the room to hear. From this restaurant, from my hotels, from any building that bears my name. You don't deserve the air in this room. Marcus was escorted out, shouting and embarrassed, while the other guests watched in silence. Justice was swift. But for Dante, it wasn't enough. He couldn't get the image of Lillian's crying face out of his mind. The next day, Lillian was terrified to go to work. She needed the money, but the shame was heavy. When she arrived at the service entrance, the head of staff stopped her. Lillian, you're not on the cleaning roster today, the manager said. Lillian's heart sank. Am I fired? Please, I can pay for the uniform. No, the manager smiled. You've been transferred. Mr. Dante's orders. He wants you in the prep kitchen, culinary training. Lillian felt the ground shift. The kitchen? That was where the chefs worked. That was a career, not just a job. Over the next few weeks, Lillian traded her gray uniform for crisp white chef's whites. She started at the bottom, chopping vegetables and making stocks, but she loved it. She had a natural talent for flavors, a patience that cooking required. Dante watched from a distance. He would come into the kitchen to taste the soups, but his eyes would always find her. He watched her confidence return. He watched her smile. One late evening, 3 weeks later, Lillian was the last one in the kitchen, practicing her knife skills. Dante walked in. "You're working late again," he said. Lillian jumped slightly, then smiled when she saw him. "Mr. Dante, I want to get this right. I don't want to let you down." "Please," he said, walking over to her station. "Just Dante." He picked up a carrot she had diced perfectly. "Why didn't you tell him off that night?" Lillian looked down at her hands. "Anger is a luxury, Dante. When you're poor, you can't afford to be angry. You just have to survive. Marcus knew that. He used it." Dante reached out and gently took the knife from her hand, setting it down. He turned her to face him. "You are the furthest thing from nothing, Lillian. Most people would have become bitter after what happened to you. You became kind." The chemistry between them was thick in the quiet kitchen. "I'd like to take you to dinner," Dante said suddenly. "Not as an employee, as Lillian." "I don't have a dress for a place like this," she whispered. "Then we won't go to a place like this," he smiled. "We'll go somewhere real." That night, the billionaire and the cleaner sat in a booth at a 24-hour diner, eating burgers and fries. They talked for hours. Lillian told him about her mother, about her love for poetry. Dante talked about his loneliness, about the pressure of being at the top where everyone wore a mask. "People want me for what I can give them," Dante admitted. "You didn't even know who I was, and you treated me with more respect than my board of directors." "Respect is free, Dante," she told him. "It's the one thing we can give even when we have empty pockets." Months passed, and Lillian thrived. She moved from prep cook to line cook. Her mother's health improved because Lillian could finally afford better care. Lillian and Dante kept their relationship quiet, stealing sweet moments in the walk-in fridge or sharing coffees on the roof before service. It was a beautiful, secret bubble. But bubbles eventually burst. It was a busy Friday night when the manager rushed into the kitchen. "Lillian, we need help on the floor. A server dropped a tray near the VIP section. Just help clear it, please." Lillian hesitated. She hadn't been on the floor since that night. But she nodded. She was a professional now. She walked out to the dining room and knelt down to pick up the broken glass. "Well, well," a voice sneered. "Look who crawled back out of the sewer." Lillian froze. It was Marcus. He had snuck in with a large group of corporate clients, hoping to avoid notice. But seeing Lillian on her knees again was too tempting for him. "I thought you were banned," Lillian said quietly, standing up. She didn't shake this time. "I find my ways," Marcus laughed, looking at his friends. "But look at you, still picking up trash. Once a maid, always a maid, right?" He stood up, towering over her. "You know, Tiffany left me, and I blame you. You're bad luck, Lillian. You're a stain. You should just disappear." He reached out to shove her shoulder aggressively, but his hand never made contact. Dante appeared from nowhere, catching Marcus's wrist in midair. His grip was like iron. "I suggest you don't touch her," Dante said, his voice dangerously calm. "Let go." Marcus winced. "Who are you?" "Oh, the owner. I told you never to step foot in here again." "Relax, man," Marcus stammered, trying to save face in front of his clients. "I'm just putting the help in her place." Dante released Marcus's hand with a shove. He turned to Lillian. In front of the entire restaurant, The corporate clients, the staff, the wealthy elite. Dante took Lillian's hand and interlaced their fingers. "She is not the help," Dante announced, his voice ringing clear through the room. "She is the heart of this establishment." The room gasped. Marcus looked confused. "What? Her? She scrubs floors?" "She has more class in her work boots than you have in your entire life," Dante said, looking only at Lillian. "And for the record, she's the woman I love." Lillian covered her mouth, tears springing to her eyes. "So, Marcus," Dante continued, "you aren't just insulting my employee, you are insulting my future." Marcus looked around. He saw the judgment in the eyes of his own clients. He saw the power Dante held. He shrank back, defeated. "Security," Dante called out. "Remove him. And this time, make sure he understands what permanent means." As Marcus was dragged out, the room broke into applause. But Lillian didn't hear them. She only heard the beating of Dante's heart as she buried her face in his chest. 1 year later, the Obsidian Lounge was closed for a private event. The tables were cleared away, the lights dimmed to a romantic golden hue. Lillian walked in. She wasn't wearing a uniform. She wasn't wearing Chef White's. She was wearing a stunning dress the color of deep red wine, reclaiming the color that had once stained her. She looked radiant. Dante was waiting for her in the center of the room at a single table set for two. "What is this?" she asked, smiling. "An anniversary," Dante replied, "of the day I found you in the alley." "The worst day of my life," she laughed softly. "And the best day of mine," he said, "because it was the day I found my equal." They sat down. Lillian looked around the restaurant. The place that used to terrify her was now her kingdom. She was the head chef now, creating the menus, leading the team. "You know, Dante," she said, "I used to think love was about grand gestures, about someone promising you the world. And now I know love is about someone handing you a warm towel when you're dirty. It's about someone standing beside you when you feel small." Dante reached across the table and placed a small velvet box on the white tablecloth. "Lillian, you scrubbed the floors of this building. You cooked in its kitchens. But mostly, you fixed the broken parts of me. I don't want to own the world. I just want to share it with you." He opened the box. A diamond, simple and flawless, shone under the lights. "Will you marry me?" Lillian didn't hesitate. She didn't look back at the girl crying in the alley. That girl was gone. "Yes," she whispered. "1,000 times, yes." Dante slid the ring on her finger and kissed her. Two people who found each other in the mess of life. They say stains are permanent, that once something is ruined, it can never be clean again. But Lillian knew the truth. Some stains don't ruin you. They just force you to change into something new, something stronger, and something loved. Which part of this story touched you the most? Kindly let us know in the comments. Like and subscribe for more heartwarming stories like this. See you in our next story. Thank you.